Good morning, everybody. Mike Vacchi, Princetontrader.com, here with your Wednesday morning pre-market webcast. Okay, so let's talk about yesterday, and then we'll talk about today. You had what looked like the beginnings of a push higher by the bulls. That was rejected and brought right back to the weekly pivot in the area 2709, 2710. The weekly pivot was defended pretty nicely, but you really didn't have a lot of momentum to the upside once you got to 27.28. So we spent most of the day trying to get through 27.28 to 27.30 unsuccessfully. The opening print in the regular session was 31.5, and we spent no time above that after the initial move down. So it had its chinks in the armor right from the get-go. And maybe that Cohen news was brewing, or maybe there was a rumor of it. I know he wasn't there for the press conference, but as soon as they announced the resignation, they dumped it. So they gapped it down. They traded as low as 26.81 quarter, but we've seen a steady move higher right back, and we're currently testing the weekly pivot here. So you've got this gap. It would take a move to daily pivot 24.25 to fill it. I have a feeling that if weekly pivot doesn't stand strong here, that the trip from weekly pivot up to fill the gap is going to be pretty quick at some point this morning. So the bears are really kind of at their last chance saloon as far as, okay, you want this to be some kind of a bear flag off of a low that's going to break down and do something really nasty. Well, I suggest you get on with it. And I don't really care what time of day it is. You need to get on with it. Because if you give up weekly pivot, if you turn it back into support, then we'll go back up and test all the things that we couldn't get through yesterday. So I am leaning towards more of a rally this morning, cautiously. I'm not doing anything about it. Price will tell me. But on a 5-minute chart, until that 5-minute mid-band gets converted into resistance, we're not really interested in getting short. So I want to thank everybody that came out for the webinar yesterday. I thought we had a really interesting discussion on using different time frames in trading. Talked about the daily chart, the hourly chart, and the 5-minute chart. 3 things that I've just talked to you guys about in the first 2.5 minutes of this webcast. So if you missed it, the recordings were sent out to everybody that registered. If you didn't register, the recording of the webinar is up on the website over at Princetontrader.com under the, wait for it, webinar section. So head on over and check that out. It discusses time frames. It discusses how people pigeonhole themselves into the wrong time frame. You're in a long-term thesis trade, and you're evaluating that trade on a short-term time frame, and vice versa. Nuances like that we as traders don't really think about, but are so very important. So thanks everybody for coming out. So the key area for me today is between the monthly pivot and the weekly pivot. This is the area that one side or the other has to win if they want the next move. Back on the daily chart, you can see the bands are starting to compress. We are starting to chop in and around 1, 2, 3, 4 moving averages. The 9, the 50, the 20, and the 100. We've interacted with some or all of those at any point in time in the last 5 sessions, okay? Actually, in the last 3 sessions. As early as the last 3 sessions, we've dealt with them all. So, that's going to compress the bands. That's going to put us in a position to try to determine what the next resolution move, is going to be. The last thing I'll point out is we talked about in the webinar yesterday my concern with the compression on these bands. I think we expanded. Now, could you catch it? No, because it was a big old gap down. But we talked a lot yesterday about how these bands were compressed during the course of the day, and compression breeds expansion, and I was expecting some type of expansion in the next 1 to 2 sessions. Well, they gapped it down at 6 o'clock. I was flat because I'm a responsible trader, so I missed that. And sometimes you're going to miss it. But most times you don't, because they don't gap it down 30 handles. But that's another good illustration of time frames and the compression on the hourly chart keeping you on your toes for expansion. All right, everybody have a fantastic day. Check us out. There'll be some stuff up on social. We've had a lot of interest lately, people wanting to come in and check out the room. A bunch of people coming in last night. Come join them. Come join them. I think there's some real value here. And if you trade this stuff, come check us out. I think you'll like what you see. Everybody have a fantastic day. I will talk to you then. Trade them well. Follow us over on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Princetontrader. Check us out on Facebook and join us for a free trial at www.princetontrader.com. Trade them well.